Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that sounds simple on the surface, but it's incredibly powerful. We're talking about transforming your life, really, through the power of, well, tiny changes. We're going to be unpacking the core ideas from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. It's super influential. And this deep dive, it's designed to give you a kind of shortcut to understanding his whole system for building good habits, breaking bad ones. We're pulling out the key stuff from the material you shared.
Exactly. And the aim isn't just like a summary. It's more about connecting the dots, right? To show why these little things, these atomic habits, have such a huge impact on, personal growth and making changes that actually stick.
Yeah, seeing that bigger picture.
How tiny shifts add up.
Okay, so let's jump in. The power of atomic habits. Small steps, big impact. Clear's big point is that real change doesn't come from these huge, massive efforts. It comes from these atomic habits. Tiny changes, almost insignificant feeling, but they build up. Like a chain reaction, he says.
Right, the nuclear analogy.
Exactly. And he argues they're way more effective and, crucially, more sustainable than trying to do everything at once, which often just fizzles out.
And what's really fascinating is how he connects this to the whole aggregation of marginal gains idea.
Oh yeah, the 1% better thing.
Right. Lots of people know it from sports or business, maybe. But Clear shows how universal it is. Like, it applies right down to our personal habits. Think about that British cycling example he uses. They didn't just, train harder. They looked for tiny 1% improvements everywhere. Bike seats, diet, tires, sure, but also like the best pillow for sleep, the right massage gel.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And those tiny, tiny gains added up to, well, Olympic gold medals. Lots of them.
That example really does make you think.
It's that compounding effect, but applied to your daily life. Counterintuitive, almost.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, if 1% better adds up like that, what does 1% worse do? But, okay, the big question then is, how do we actually do that? How do we engineer those small shifts? And that's where Clear brings in his framework, the 4 laws of behavior change.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really practical.
What do you think makes these laws so effective?
Well, I think it's because they shift the focus away from just relying on willpower, which, let's be honest, is limited for all of us.
Definitely. Mine runs out by lunchtime sometimes.
Right. So instead, it focuses on designing your environment, designing your system. It gives you a clear roadmap. It's about working with your human nature, not constantly fighting against it.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's unpack them. The first law is make it obvious. This is all about awareness, right? Understanding your current habits and their triggers.
Exactly. Your environment shapes you more than you think.
So strategies here are things like using a habit tracker, not just ticking boxes, but really seeing the patterns.
Identifying those cues.
And using visual cues.
Yeah.
Putting reminders out where you can't miss them. Making the good habit the obvious thing to do.
Yeah, making it front and center.
Okay, then the second law, make it attractive. This is about making the habit appealing, something you actually want to do.
Right. Creating an environment that supports it, maybe removing distractions that pull you away.
Or like pairing a habit you want to build with something you already enjoy. Habit stacking, he calls it sometimes.
Yeah, or even using positive self-talk, not just rah-rah stuff, but connecting the habit to who you want to be.
The identity shift. Instead of I have to exercise, it's I am the kind of person who stays active.
Exactly. Or focusing on the positive feeling you'll get after. I'll feel so much better after that walk.
Okay, law number 3. Make it easy. This one seems key.
Absolutely. Reduce the friction.
Make the good habit the path of least resistance, right? Like setting out your workout clothes the night before.
Or even more powerfully, simplifying the habit itself. Break it down into something tiny.
Like instead of run 5 miles, it's just put on running shoes.
Exactly, the 2-minute rule. Make it so easy you can't say no.
And he talks about implementation intentions here too. That's not just saying I'll exercise more.
No, it's super specific. I will do behavior at time in location.
Like on Tuesday at 7 a.m., I will meditate for 5 minutes in the living room.
Precisely. It removes the decision-making burden in the moment. You've already decided.
Which makes follow-through way more likely. I know I need that sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, and the 4th law, make it satisfying. This feels crucial in our world of instant gratification. How do we make good habits, which often have delayed rewards, feel good now?
Yeah, this is vital because our brains are wired for that immediate payoff. So you need to find a way to give yourself an immediate reward, even a small one, right after you complete the habit.
So it signals to your brain, hey, that was good, let's do it again.
Exactly. It reinforces the loop. This could be celebrating small milestones like marking it off on your tracker with a big check mark.
Like giving yourself a small, healthy treat, or just taking a moment to acknowledge the accomplishment.
Creating that feeling of progress, however small, it really hardwires the habit.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How many resolutions fail because we just, ignore these basic psychological drivers?
Totally. We aim too high, make it hard, unattractive, and forget the satisfaction part.
So this is the laws, the sort
Yeah.
of how-to guide. But Clear also dives into the why behind it all, the underlying psychology. He calls it the 4 stages of habit formation. This is the loop our brain runs through.
Right. The fundamental pattern.
First stage is the cue. That's the trigger. We need to identify our cues, like we said, with make it obvious.
Use those visual reminders.
Then comes the craving. This is the motivation, the desire for the reward the habit brings.
And understanding this craving is key, isn't it?
How so? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, Clear argues it's often not the habit itself we crave, but the change in state it provides. The anticipation of relief, or satisfaction, or connection. If you understand the real craving underneath.
You can find a better way to satisfy it.
Exactly. You can consciously choose a better response.
Yeah.
It really makes you question how automatic some of our daily loops are.
Interesting. Okay, so after cue and craving comes the response. That's the actual habit or behavior, what you actually do.
And this is where we need to identify our typical responses and use things like those implementation intentions to guide us towards the desired one.
Making the good response the easy, planned one.
And finally, the reward, the satisfaction, the benefit you get, which ties back to make it satisfying, celebrating those wins, tracking progress.
Right. That reward reinforces the whole loop, making it more likely you'll repeat it next time the cue appears.
So these stages all link together, creating this powerful cycle. And if you consciously tweak each part...
You can really take control of your habits rather than feeling controlled by them.
Okay, so we understand the laws, we understand the stages. How do we put this into action, for building the good stuff and, maybe even harder, ditching the bad habits?
Yeah, Clear gives really practical advice for both sides. For building good habits, it boils down to what we've discussed. Start super small. Use implementation intentions, make cues obvious, make it satisfying. It maps directly to the laws and stages.
It's all connected.
But breaking bad habits, that often feels trickier. What does he suggest there?
Well, one really powerful idea is reframing your identity.
Yes. Changing your self-image so the bad habit just doesn't fit anymore.
That sounds big, though.
How do you actually do that when you're still struggling?
It is a big mental shift, yeah. But Clear suggests you start by focusing on small wins that prove the new identity to yourself. It's shifting from I'm trying to quit snacking to I am a healthy eater.
So each time you choose the apple instead of the chips, you're casting a vote for that new identity.
Exactly. You ask yourself, what would a healthy person do right now? And when your actions align with that identity, the old habit feels, well, wrong. It doesn't fit who you are anymore.
That's a really powerful way to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, what else for breaking bad habits?
Finding alternative behaviors is key. Replace the bad habit with a good one that satisfies a similar underlying craving.
Right, like if you smoke out of boredom, find something else engaging to do.
And definitely change your environment. Remove the triggers, the cues for the bad habit. Make it invisible.
Which brings us back to the laws. Just applied in reverse.
Precisely. To break a bad habit. Make it invisible. Make it unattractive. Make it difficult. And make it unsatisfying.
So make the cigarettes hard to find. Focus on the negative health effects. Don't buy them easily. Maybe track how much money you're saving by not buying them.
Exactly. You're flipping the script.
So what does this all mean then for someone listening who really wants to make some changes?
I think it means that change doesn't have to be this monumental struggle against yourself. It's more like a design project. You're designing a system for success. The power isn't in some magical burst of motivation.
Right.
It's in the consistent application of these small, systematic steps. It really puts the power back in your hands.
Yeah, it feels much more achievable that way. Atomic Habits really is kind of a foundational read for personal development, isn't it?
Definitely.
It gives you that clear system, those actionable strategies. And if you apply them, you really can make changes that stick and, genuinely transform things. This deep dive hopefully gives you the core toolkit to start.
And maybe a final thought to leave people with. Consider this. Even your biggest, most daunting goals probably aren't achieved through some heroic leap. They're more likely the result of just consistently showing up and making those tiny, almost invisible atomic improvements day after day. If you master the system, progress can feel almost inevitable. So maybe ask yourself, what's one tiny atomic change you could make today that casts a vote for the person you want to become tomorrow?
It's a great question to end on. A huge thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. If you found this useful, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps, and you won't miss our next deep dive. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.